This is the one that came off the agenda, so that one. We're good. All right. Boom, boom, boom. Tom, do we have anybody online yet, or are you still trying to get into that? There are 4 participants. And I just later that one. All right. I think we're good. I think we solved our technical difficulties for the evening. All right. So we're going to call the Town of Manlius Zoning Board of Appeals July 20th meeting to order. If everybody could please rise. Do the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Just go for the record, we do have 3 absences for the board tonight. Katie Kelly and Terry Callahan, they're both unable to attend tonight. The remainder of the board, Warren Lindbergh, myself, and Claire Miller are here, as well as Jamie Sutton, our planning board attorney. Tom Boykers, our the zoning board, that's what I meant. I was thinking planning. Tom Boykers, our code officer and IT expert of the evening. We're MC, I guess, right? And Debbie Russell, our awesome secretary. All right. So starting with the agenda item number 2. Go back 1 second. Why were we rolling that?
Okay.
The plan is after the board. It's all. All right, so we do have 3 sets of minutes to approve. So the first one is for the meeting of May 18th. Did you guys get a chance to review those? Yes. Any questions? Okay. Can I get a motion to approve those minutes? Make a motion to approve.
I second.
Yes. All right. Be pretty easy. 1 does, 1 seconds. All right, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained. Okay. Now next up is the June 1st meeting minutes. Then question, everybody get a chance to review them. Yes. Any questions, comments? Edits? You like to make a motion to approve them?
I don't know.
And I'm guessing you want a second. Sorry. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. And then the June 15 minutes, same question, you asked and edits, I think that one you would turn that, right? No, those were done, okay. All right, any questions? All right, may I get a motion? Motion for June 15, 2023 minutes.
I second it.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. So that is out of the way, thank you. Agenda item number 4 is for a variance that was sent out for 4648 Neck Path in Manlius. That one has been postponed. The applicant withdrew the application just the other day, which was after we sent out the public notice for it. So agenda item number 5, through this pretty good. This is for 216 Chef's Lane for Diane Fields. They will need a rear yard variance for the construction of a 12 by 24 shed. Do we have them online? Yes. Okay, can you bring them to the front? Deal. Can we also get a motion to waive the reading of the month through tonight? Motion to waive the reading notice.
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Just wait for them to come forward, and
I believe they should be able to do it there, unmuted on their end, they should be able to speak.
Diane,
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me okay?
How are you?
Good.
Are you Mr. Shields?
Yes, I am.
if you could, tell us what it is that you're looking to do and, why it is that you need the variance?
We're looking to put a 12 by 24 shed in the middle of the backyard towards the back of our property. We've moved from a larger home into a little bit smaller one to my mother-in-law's home. And I've got a lot of tools and things and some storage items that we need to put in there. A lot of camping, and the garage at the house is just not big enough for it. So we're looking to put it in the shed. I had one at my other property and we had to empty it to move over here. And we just got rid of our pod, and we're hoping to be able to get a shed delivered and move the camping equipment and all the tools and all the stuff that I've got into this shed. We do have a smaller shed on the property already, and that's geared towards the lawnmowers, tillers, weed trimmers, and gasoline and that kind of stuff. I don't like to store that kind of stuff in with my tools and the camping equipment. So we need to put the shed towards the back of the property. And we're actually moving it so that it is in front of, as far as coming back, it's the shed that we've got, I believe, is a 10 by 10 that's already there. And we're moving the shed away from the property line up. So it's closer, a little bit closer to the home.
All right, you need a variance of 8 feet, right?
Thereabouts, yes. Yeah, thereabouts, yes, sir.
Okay. Now, do you get the water back there like they do in some of those other properties, or is that a little further up the road from you?
We are lucky, we have not. My mother-in-law has lived here for many, many years, and they haven't really had any problems with any water in the back.
I asked because we had one a couple months ago that we had to go forward a little bit just because of the water issue they get, but it's a.
Yeah, that would be further, yeah, that would be further down to the left of our property where they might have had some water issues.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Anything else that you'd like to add?
No, I don't think so. I've never been to one of these meetings before, so I just put it out there.
I appreciate it. All right, so, forward if you guys, if we could, get a motion to open the public hearing on this. The motion of the public hearing.
I second it.
All in favor? Aye. All right. So you weren't, what questions do you have? I didn't really have many on this. Claire, do you have any questions?
I do not have any questions.
Okay, and I know Tom said this, you went out and this is based on where he wants to put it, was really.
Yeah, the initial application showed it a lot closer to the property line, but after measuring out from the road front to the house to where it actually is, it determined that it would be the variance requirement.
And from a overall standpoint, there's other houses in the neighborhood that have similar sheds and structures like that, so it's not anything out of the character when they go like that. So you don't have any other questions, Claire?
I do not.
All right, is there anybody online or in attendance that has any questions?
Stephanie had her hand raised, but I don't believe it's for this item.
70, did you have a question about this one, or was that for a different?
She just removed the hand.
Okay. Never mind. And this, the picture in the packet, is this, this could be the house's color, or? Mr. Shields,
Yes,
what color is the shed gonna be? Is it gonna match the house?
close to the color of the house with green shutters. It's gonna have vinyl siding on it. So we
Okay.
wanted something that was gonna kind of look a lot like the house.
And is that just going like on gravel?
Yes,
Okay. Thank you.
you're welcome.
Now, have you talked to your neighbors? Did they have any concerns? I don't see any letters or anything in here.
No, I went out early on as soon as we were talking about it and talked to the immediate neighbors, and I had a few of the neighbors contact me from further down the road just to ask some questions about it because they were a little confused on why we needed a variance on where we were going to put it, but that's all I said. I just want to, do everything up and up.
But nobody was opposed to it or anything?
No, sir.
Okay. All right, if there's no further questions, let's get a motion to close the public hearing on this. Motion to close the public hearing.
I second it.
All right, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right. So next step here, so those 5 questions that you answered in the application, the board is going to do the same thing and go through them as well. Okay, so question number 1. Whether the benefit to the applicant can be achieved by some other means, or is there another way to achieve what you would like to do? Right. But based upon the orientation of the lot, I don't see any other. Will the variance cause an undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood or nearby properties? No.
No.
There, like I said, there's sheds similar in other parts of that neighborhood. Is the request substantial? No, it's
No.
8 feet.
No, it's not a huge structure.
Right, whether the request will have adverse or environmental effects on the neighborhood or surrounding areas, no.
No,
And then whether the need for the variance is self-created.
yes.
Yes. So based upon that, so the ZBA, after taking into consideration the above 5 factors, finds that the benefit to the applicant does outweigh the detriment to the neighborhood. ZBA further finds that the variance for 8 feet is the minimum variance which should be granted in order to preserve and protect the character of the neighborhood, health, safety, and wellness of the community. And there's no significant impact on the environment. Therefore, I propose to take action on secret. No further reviews on that's required. So based upon that, can somebody make a motion to grant or deny the area variance? Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to grant the area variance to Diane Shields in the property located at 216 Chefs Lane in Kirkville, New York. Tax map ID 05106-12.0. Variance granted for construction of a shed. Grant the 8-foot variance for the rear setback to meet the required 40 feet. Okay. Do we have a second?
I second that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, congratulations, Mr. Shields.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Next item on the agenda is item number 6, Joshua Solomon at 4714 Manlius Street, Manlius. They're going to need a side yard variance of 4 feet to construct a 16 by 36. Now, is he online?
You should be able to talk.
I'm online. Can you hear me?
We can. How are you tonight?
I'm great. How are you guys?
Good.
Good.
All right, so similar to the last applicant, if you could just explain to us what it is you guys are looking to do and why it is you need the variance.
Sure. So we have plans to install an in-ground pool in our backyard. And the reason for the variance application is that based upon where the house is situated in the lot, or on the lot rather, and based upon the shape of the lot and where the driveway is and other, I guess, barriers and obstructions, we are about where the pool, where we're proposing to put it, is about 4 feet too close to that property line, which is why we are requesting a variance. So I guess the short answer to that is just based upon everything else that's already in place, structure and the lines, there's really no other feasible place to move it to in our backyard.
Yeah. Get a motion to open public hearing. Somebody get a motion to open public hearing. Very second.
I second it.
All in favor? Opposed? Okay, so, who is it that's doing this pool?
Cannon pools,
There's, what, 16 by, does that say 36?
16 by 36, correct.
I know, I mean, just from prior experience working with Canon, they try everything possible to have to avoid, or to try to avoid having to have variances too, but when lots are shaped like yours, sometimes that isn't something they can achieve, so.
No, we try to get creative. We didn't, if preferred, we didn't want to go down this path, but we just couldn't make it work otherwise. So that's that's why we're here tonight.
Yeah, and you've got, is that a patio or a deck that it's gonna be right behind?
There's both a stone patio and then a built-in wooden deck. So any additional movement would require really a pretty significant disruption to existing structure. So I was trying to avoid that.
Warren, do you have any questions?
I'm just curious why the pool couldn't be moved 4 feet towards where the driveways that would get around this.
Yeah.
This looks like it lines up with that patio.
So if that's a question for me, I'm happy to answer it. So we tried moving it down, and based upon the fence and some other, I guess, requirements for the project, it would then be in the way of where the driveway is, where snow gets plowed into it, and there's other activity that would prevent us from doing it, I guess, reasonably, even by moving it a couple feet down.
You want to see the survey, you have the survey that shows his plans.
Yeah, I'm looking at this.
You're saying almost shift it up a little.
Yeah.
Ordinance, sort of. So right now is the way that it's set up, the fence for the pool is gonna be kind of at the edge of your driveway, corner of the house.
It's actually connect to the corner of the house.
So parallel, same plane.
Yeah.
And we also have tree, if this matters or not, we have trees that are at the end of the driveway, so there's literally no place to push the snow, so.
On that, okay. Wait, he has a question for 5 minutes, so that name goes a lot too.
That little fire pit that you have, that's gonna be not there, right?
No, all gone. They're gonna have to cut into that. We're looking at that aerial view, that back line is they're gonna take that down, and there's gonna have to be significant grading done back there too, to kind of tow that pool back into that spot.
Interesting shaped lot. No, I'm good. All right, Claire, you're good.
I'm good.
Can we get a motion? Is there anybody in the audience?
I have no questions and no one has raised their hands.
Anybody in the audience in person have any questions?
Heard nothing from the neighbors. So.
Did you, speak with your neighbors about that?
The neighbor, if looking at that aerial view, the neighbor to the bottom, I don't see ever, quite frankly. I don't have any communication with them. The neighbor on the other side, she's aware of it and didn't have any problems with it, but where we're putting.
That side's gonna feel it pretty much.
Yeah, the other thing too is that you can notice the trees in the tree line on the other side of the property. Yep. That's fully matured now. That I don't know when that photo was taken, but it's completely private back there. So there's no line of sight into our backyard from that neighbor's access.
All right, I don't have any further questions. We'll get a motion to close the public hearing.
I make a motion to close the public hearing.
I second that motion.
All in favor? Aye. All right. So, with that being said, we're gonna go through the 5 questions ourselves. All right, so question number 1, whether benefits sought by the applicant can be achieved by a feasible alternative to the variance. Maybe, but
Maybe, but if it's snow removal, and you know the driveway is kind of a
It could actually cause damage. Probably.
good fence.
well, and if it's, I mean, he's gotta find out the rules or the current pack and everything he puts to, so. All right, whether there's an undesirable change, to either be produced in the character of the neighborhood or detriment to nearby properties, so. Whether request variance is substantial, no. Would the variance have an adverse impact on the physical or environmental condition of the neighborhood? No. That difficulty was self-created, yes.
Yes.
All right. So the ZBA, after taking into consideration the above 5 factors, finds that the benefits of the applicant does outweigh the detriment to the neighborhood. ZBA further finds that the variance for 4 feet is the minimum variance that should be granted in order to preserve and protect the character of the neighborhood and the health, safety, and welfare of the community. It's also agreement that there is no significant impact on the environment, therefore we propose effective action on secret and no further reviews required. Based upon that, may I get a motion to approve or deny the variance?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve request for variance for real property located at 4714 Manlius Street, Manlius, New York, tax map 11716 02.1. Their variance granted for the purpose of permitting construction of 16 by 36 to Joshua Solomon.
Okay, Clarence.
I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, you are all set.
Thanks for your time, everybody. Have a good night.
You're welcome. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Nice weather. All right, next one up is Kyle Elliott for 106 North Davis Street in Syracuse. They are going to need a front yard variance and a rear yard variance with the construction of a 18-foot above ground temporary pool.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, Kyle should be speaking right now.
Okay.
And I,
Just explain to us what it's looking to do and why you need variance.
well, I will admit that it's already put up. We have been buying insect pools for a couple of years now because they're sold as temporary pools, and I will admit I was not aware I needed a permit for a temporary pool. But this one is admittedly larger than the other ones we had in the past. This one I put as dead center in the yard as I could. If I move it really in any other direction, I either have to remove a tree or take down the permanent wood playground structure, and I honestly don't know if it's in the survey or not, but the backyard, the previous owner, I guess, terraced it. There's like a rock wall that kind of leads up to a slightly higher section of the yard. So if it moves any closer to the house, it's going to start butting up against that as well. So the place that I put it, again, I tried putting it as close to the center of the yard away from all my neighbors as I could. This is pretty much the only place that I could put it in my backyard. But I was since made aware that we do need permits for the pool, so I'm trying to set things right. And so I applied for the permit. They told me I need a variance for it and some other things. I went out and bought a pool alarm, installed that, and we have a latching gate that I also added to just as an extra safety precaution. And the entire yard is fenced in.
We could have a motion to open public hearing. I'll make a motion to open public hearing.
I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye. Can I ask a question? How did this come to the attention of codes?
I am unsure if it was, I can look back and see if it was a complaint that was brought to us, or it is something that we are proactive on for life safety measures that we will send orders or remedies for.
Just wondering if the neighbors would have a problem with it.
If you give, I can find that.
I did, when you sent out the letters to the neighbors, I had one neighbor come over, ask about it, and I will paraphrase in more appropriate words, but he doesn't care about the pool. And he actually asked if there's anything that he could do to help him get it passed. I told him this one. I didn't think so, but that was the only neighbor that came to me after you guys sent everything out. He very much so didn't care.
Aye.
Claire, do you have any questions? So you said this, so you normally purchase one of these pools, was that every couple of years?
Yeah, we had one before that was admittedly smaller. There was a guy that came by to take a look at it yesterday, maybe 2 days ago, and just to see the situation from the town. And I showed him the patch of where all the grass is dead and the clovers took over where it used to be. They've been in a couple spots, but again, they were smaller. My wife found a really good deal on for Prime Day on the one that we got today, which is the one that this is for. And we popped that one up. And so generally it's been like the same pool. The smaller pool you could take down because it just didn't have as much water. But this one actually has like the quantity of water that you're not fiscally responsible or environmentally responsible if you drain everything. So this past winter was the first winter we had it. We drained it past below the filter level, and I don't know the technical term for it, but you know, the pool cover tarp thing you put on top of a pool over the winter, and we winterized everything. So this is the first year we've had one up over the winter.
For a couple of years. Entirely portable like your property. That was my question, Jeremy. Legal standpoint is that can you put a variance on any portable structure?
Yeah, I mean, it's really affixed to the ground for all intents.
Because
This is so we're considering it a permanent structure for these purposes.
Do you know roughly how long those last for?
I mean, personally, no. My wife was doing the research before she bought it, or probably right after she bought it. She said that some people have had these things up for years. And I figured it was like a $2,000 thing from Intex, and she got a Prime Day deal for like $700. So I figured, you know, if the thing falls apart in 4 years, then it's still worth the money. But from what I've seen, some people have had them up for a while. I don't know how long Intex has been around, so I can't give you like a solid estimate. My youngest is 8 years old, so I don't see this thing being up in my yard more than 10 years anyway. But
this was observed by code enforcement officer. It was not, it was a code enforcement officer observation as reported. So the code enforcement officer observed this as being in violation and
For like we said.
yes. Yeah.
Thank you. I have no question.
I was the guy when I was.
You were the guy. Yeah. Alright. Alright, anybody in the audience, have any questions? Comments? No one else. Anyone else here? Anyone else want to go for a swim? Alright, can we, you made a motion to close the public hearing, motion to close the public hearing.
I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. All right, so now we're gonna go through the 5 questions. So whether the benefits sought by the applicant can be achieved by a feasible alternative to the variance. Move around a little bit, but you're still gonna need
It's already got water in it, it's got a sand base on it.
Yeah.
It's there.
where it is, where it is. Yep. All right, whether an undesirable change would be produced in the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties.
No,
No.
No. Whether requested variance is substantial.
No.
not really. It's pretty well centrally located in this yard. I did see the mark from the previous period.
Apparently reduced. Would the variance have an adverse impact on the physical or environmental conditions of the neighborhood? No.
No.
And then whether the alleged difficulty was self-created?
Yes.
Yes. All right, ZBA after taking into consideration the above 5 factors, finds that the benefits of the applicant does outweigh the detriment to the neighborhood. ZBA first for that, we look back and talk. ZBA first for that. Now with the variance for the front yard, what was the amount on that one?
Front is 8 feet, so provide for 8 feet.
And then the other one was 7 inches, correct?
Yeah.
So those are the minimum variances that should be granted in order to preserve and protect the character of the neighborhood and health, safety, welfare of the community. And because there was no significant impact on the environment, therefore we propose that to action on secret. No further review on that's required. Based upon that, can someone make a motion to grant or deny the variance?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion, the zoning board grants an area variance to Kyle Elliott with real property located at 106 North Davis Street, Syracuse. Tax map 06504-12.0. Area variance granted for the pool that he has currently up in his yard. Variance of 8 feet to provide relief for the required 30 feet front yard setback, and the additional variance of 7 inches to provide relief from the required 25-foot other front yard setback.
Claire?
I second that motion.
Aaron? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. You were all set, sir. Have a great evening.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right. Agenda number 8. Tesla, 5427 North Burdick Street, Fayetteville, New York. I can say it now because it says it out. This is, you're from LA, correct? Yes. Yeah, okay. So on behalf of Tesla, it will be LA Sign Company speaking. And keep in mind, it doesn't separate it in here, but there are 2 different variances they're looking for. One is for the sign on the page of the building. The other one is for the sign that they so gracefully constructed that we looked at yesterday. And Tom, when we get to that, if you could, we'll talk about it. We talk about the building one first. Yeah. And then we'll talk about the other one, go up here. Yeah. Can we get a motion clear to open the public hearing?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to open the public hearing.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, okay. So, yeah, why don't we start, we'll start with the letters on the building,
Okay,
if you're okay with that.
Yeah.
You can just pull up the company information.
so the building signage, the LED illuminated channel letters. The variance for that would be 23.5 square feet.
That's a total, right?
Yeah, yep, but their logo is just, their letters are really spread out, so that's kind of how their layout, their logo goes.
The question was, so they're asking for that. I'm sorry, not to interrupt
Yep.
you, but because those are individual letters,
It's all, you take the,
it counts all as one.
it's there, yeah.
We were saying.
And they're 3 feet tall. I mean, that's pretty standard for channel letters in most places. So we're requesting a variance for that. They're LED internally illuminated. Probably hooked to a timer, time clock, or a photo cell. You know, during the day it'll be off, at night it'll light up. You wanna go to the big boy now, or?
Let's do this one.
Okay, are these separate?
Well, they're gonna be together because it might be a mix and match situation.
I would rather separate for right now.
Oh,
so we
yeah,
can talk-
to hear about it.
Yeah,
But
The variance are separate, they should.
the variance, but they might say you can have more on this one and less on this one.
So,
Like, it's, I know you want it separate, but
uh,
that is not, no. not
Well-
necessary.
the reason I'm thinking that we do them separate is this one is a much simpler conversation than the other one. The other one, they're asking for 160 square feet of variance.
Right, but if you give more on that, you might want to get less than this. My point, so.
Go ahead and explain.
obviously, something's have to be done,
Yeah.
about the monument sign. So if I go back and the channel letters are approved, they can start making those and make their opening date if they have one. You know, a lot of sign companies are backed up almost 3 months for production.
Even the open in November is what I think.
What's that? I'm sorry.
Over in November.
I believe so.
Well, so when we had our planning meeting with this, we discussed this as two separate variances. With him because it was, there are two separate texts. I'd like to hear everything first. Okay.
So as most of you seen the mock-up that we put up the other day, I was there, I was part of it. I did some testing trying to pull out my views. It's not great. It's not the place for it. There's lots of water pipes. UFPO had marked out some different things there. I don't think the foundation that they want for this sign would ever be possible right there anyways. As soon as I got back, from the site to the shop, I called principal, spoke with them, to see if they would be willing to do anything else. And they said that they'd be willing to move that sign to where the existing pylon was for the other, place. It looks like the monument for Tesla would be about the same height as the fort. Except for this is a pole monument, it's not a pole or double pole style pylon. So it's gonna look beefier, but it's probably the same height and width. I can't guarantee that because we haven't done a survey on the fort
So,
pylon.
yeah, in the Ford one. The pylon part of it is not necessarily a part, it is, but it isn't part of the base of the sign, right? The question on this one, the variance in this one is for the base of the sign.
Well, it's not, it's the titles. As well.
Well,
Is there a height?
There's, yeah, the freestanding has two variants being requested, the height and the base.
So the height is, what's the variance on the height?
I'm just looking for their variance.
so just to clarify what you just said, you're saying that they are okay with putting it in.
They're willing to play, I told them it probably wouldn't happen, I know I wouldn't let that happen. Cause it. First, we don't even know if we can put it there, you can't see, it would probably cause accidents,
That was my first thought when I thought, well, that and where it's located, that fire hydrant, if you're trying to use the hydrant, fire department,
yeah.
it's.
And it's a pretty big foundation for that size sign, so I doubt that it could even be put in there.
But if it's back where Ford and Mercedes have their signs, it's not directly in the.
It would be in line, so the old pylon, the anchor bolts are still there in the parking lot.
It was the same plane.
Yeah,
We were talking about that.
you know, so they could fabricate this sign to fit on those anchor bolts. And everything would be in line, you would have view coming in and out. And I think, you know, overall, for the environment, it would look a lot better too. Cause you know, I mean, just standing there, putting thing up, people are persuading and.
I got a couple of phone calls yesterday.
Yeah.
Like, is that really gonna be?
So I looked at it, you know, in the drawings, and it doesn't look like it's proportionate for some reason. Sometimes they do these quick drawings so you can just see what it looks like, but
What
It's
they
a-
were asking for was 8 feet, 8 inches by.
by 20 foot.
Now, Tom, you were gonna look into it, did you get what, Mercedes sign is?
I did not
Get
get
a
that
rough estimate of what we thought it was,
I
but I
figured it was between 15 and 17 feet.
and about 6 feet wide. The item that came up, there was a county referral. For that, I don't know with the new requirements through the county planning board, if that is one of the items they want to see. But the previous one did have a county referral to it. I thought signage, but it is,
I think that if it's an area variance specifically, I think in conjunction with the other approvals, it would go to county, and other than that, I'm not sure.
the other item was the county right of way for the sign.
well, where
If
is
that
there?
would bring it to the county,
Mhm.
if that would make it have to go to the county planning board.
Oh, well, they would never let it go in county. So.
Was he was just saying, they were saying if they go,
back anyway.
if they go back to the original spot.
I told him it's pretty much impossible to probably put a foundation in there, and it just didn't look right and is obstruction to view. So,
It looks like where it was, that's what happened. Compared to that close to road, not to mention all the water connections.
yeah, that's the first thing I saw. So I did call her as soon as I got back to the shop, and she said that they would have, you know, if they could, to put it in the exact spot where the old pylon is. Which is farther into the,
The same
parking lot.
plane.
Yeah, it's almost to the first light in the parking lot.
Already got power on it.
It's got power, it's got anchor bolts.
Do we know how big they'll, do you remember? That was what they were for the goggles? All right, well, he's looking that up.
James Spence, that I was gonna email about it, because we had a conversation about North Burbank. So right of way, and because that splits from 2 to 1 over in that area, he was the one that really had to read the map for the right of way on the side of the road.
It's the two just past there where it's the poles, right?
Yeah.
Or does it split the two with the doctors?
It's a little bit,
Right in that area.
yeah, right by that bend of it, right? That's where it goes.
Yeah.
And that's where the right of way changed, and we had him reviewing that. There's also on the other side, it's single lane. So he was the one that reviewed it for the other side of the road for another property. To give us the actual right of way, so I would. If it didn't require it, we would. Before granting, if the permit or if the variances were granted, they didn't have any bearing on the location as much as I would have to make sure that the county was gonna approve them for there.
So even though it was being put back in the existing,
Well, if it was being put where the variances are being granted for the sign unless. And Jamie, correct me, unless it's conditioned for that location, the variances are just being granted for a sign on that property as of right now. Right, so if they change the location of it,
It would have to come for another variance. Exactly.
because that'd be part of the condition of the
Yes,
variance.
Yes, that would be have to show exactly where it is.
I don't know if
That can be put in as a condition.
if we needed to refer to the county for their
It,
approval.
it needs to go for it has to go for administrative review.
So my question was gonna be, is that's pretty much their standard size for that sign?
I don't know other places, but, I know sign companies like this, they get, the national package. And they put together a standard and they start making the signs. And they start shipping them out before permits are even granted.
And the reason I asked is even that, right? First off, you're asking for what I consider beyond a substantial variance. It's like multiple factors of substantial. If that was, what's the height limit that we have is what?
Okay, just add that up.
Say 16,
Yeah, it's
That's what I thought.
that's bigger than 16.
or 6 feet. It's 16 square feet is the facade, yeah, and then the,
So all those, the pylon, like the four pylon, is that like grandfathered in? Must have changed codes.
Yeah, I don't know what the background is on that. It's way before.
The closest one that we were talking about yesterday, and Tom was gonna look up was the Mercedes. They redid the front of that. I don't know if you guys or who did that sign, but that was about the gentleman we talked over there yesterday, said it was about 6 years, but I don't know is it would change the name of the Tom is this is Romano on there. I think she was gonna join us. Or she's at the board.
I believe it is Stephanie.
Yeah.
And she is here, I can allow her to speak.
Hello, can you hear me?
Stephanie,
Hi, please ignore my two small children.
so just to identify yourself, you're Stephanie Romano from the Ford dealer.
Stephanie Romano from the Ford dealer and the Mercedes dealer.
So can you answer a question for us?
Hopefully.
When it was about 6 years ago, correct, that you guys redid the front of Mercedes?
Was it 6? Okay.
That we were told just before COVID, but 4 or 5 said somewhere in there. Do you recall if there were any variances that you guys had to get for that sign?
No, that sign stayed where it was. We didn't move that sign, and I know that we weren't permitted to put 2 standing signs on the property next door. That's why there's no Volkswagen freestanding sign. But no, that sign is on the original footprint that it always was. I don't even think that sign changed at all. It was just the facade of the building itself.
When it changed from Mercedes to Syracuse or whatever.
I'm sorry, say it again.
Well, the name changed.
Oh, the name did change, right? It was Romano Mercedes, and it changed to Mercedes-Benz of Syracuse. It's still DBA Romano Mercedes.
The rest of the sign. Okay, that's our question. Thank you. So going off that, my question was more in line with, can we request that sign falls in line with the size of the Mercedes one that's approximately, based on what we said yesterday, it's not exact, but about 16 by 4. So not as where it fits into the character of the neighborhood. That right there, I mean, where it is right there right now, that obviously is not going to work, but even if that goes back, it really doesn't fit into the character of that strip or anything along that section of the street.
Is the Mercedes sign, I don't know.
Also on a pylon.
Oh, it's on a pile?
It's about four-ish feet in front of their building.
Okay.
But if you look at that, if you look north on Burdick Street, you're saying that Tesla pylon, the old sign, the old Dodge sign, they're all perfectly lined up.
Yeah. That's something.
And no one's obstructing anyone's signs with the former footprint.
Because there's a lot of traffic through there, especially for the medical center, and the town center or the township. They're seniors, so I just don't want to see something where it's causing any issues with traffic.
Yeah, I can go back to them if you guys have a certain size in mind. And tell them that it's gotta go in the existing location or where the existing.
We would still have to grant the variance for that.
Oh, yeah.
Size, of course, but I don't think it's unreasonable to ask that it fits within the character of, I mean, that's obviously the character of the neighborhood would be that size versus something. I think the Mercedes one is acceptable, that the size it's at.
I thought this would be no bigger than the state. So. And on that same plane, the original footing. Yeah.
And Terry's not here right now, I don't want to speak forward, but that's what I said yesterday, was that size wise, it's just, it's too big as it is, and the other thing too is that it's gonna be a big red test. So.
I had a very hard time pulling out of the Ford building when the mock-up was there. Just as far as safety and sightline.
But from your perspective as the neighboring business, having it back where the old pylon was for Dodge would be acceptable, right?
In a similar structure to what Dodge had, of course, no problem. I just don't want it to create any traffic issues, any safety issues, and obviously I don't want it to eclipse what has been there for 20+ years.
We're thinking more in line with, like you were saying, if it's back where the Dodge sign was and then approximately the same size as your Mercedes sign.
Yes, of course.
And are you trying to put Tesla all the way down, like?
It's, do you have the picture?
Yeah.
It's the Tesla logo, and then it says Tesla and letters right there.
That's for the monument.
The monument sign, yeah, he's got it right up there. Fine.
What is the lid on that sign? Just the letters? And
Yeah, it's a rounded face, so just the white that you see would illuminate. So it'd be the logo and the word Tesla.
What's on the edges? Nothing like.
I don't believe there's anything.
It's on the Mercedes thing. It's a white vertical line with it that's like an illuminated.
Okay.
So on the edge here, that's solid. It's not illuminated, correct?
Yeah, that's just the color. I mean, you'll see during the day, but at night it'll be black.
So, all right, so here's what we're thinking we're gonna do. And tell me if you guys agree with this. We're gonna, the first variance for the building sign, we're gonna pull that separate. Okay, I'd like you to take this one back to Tesla or the builder and have them adjust the size of it.
Okay.
And remark this up, because this is gonna have to, like they said, go for administrative review. So that we can get that process moving, because obviously you're gonna have a time. It's gonna have to go to them, and then it will be, if they can do it their next meeting, it's still gonna be a.
Well, the administrative review is rolling. Supposed to be a rolling deal, so, but still, it's only a month to our next meeting, so if you want to get that to the county to get action, I mean.
Yeah, I would say it would take them maybe a week or less to have drawings and get stuff, and then I can send that.
Can you work directly with
Yeah,
to get that where it needs to go? So we're gonna, so then what we'll do is we'll table this one for right now, we'll keep it open. that will come back before us next month after it goes through that process.
No, they don't need to go with a full pylon, right? They can go with the monument style.
So the pole pylon, go back to that picture. Tom. That, so that,
So this is considered monument, so if you have a pylon with the pole, but a lot of towns, I know Auburn changed last year and Rochester, they're removing the old pylons with the poles and they're making people do the.
So this would be the same width of the bottom and side of the top.
Yes,
On this.
yeah, everything will be enclosed, it'll be all one box.
And the base is just a nominal.
Yeah, it'll probably go right to the ground, probably. Sometimes they do a little concrete, 3 inches up and then they put a little skirt.
so
No.
the question is, if you put it on the pylon, it's still not gonna be any taller than 16 inch, whatever.
No, but what I'm saying is the square footage is gonna be more than the Ford pylon because you guys just count the cabin. But on here,
But if it's monument style, it actually would look similar to what Mercedes has.
I'll go check that out. just to get a
Mercedes,
size.
Mercedes sign is not on the house. Stephanie, by chance, do you know the size of that sign?
I can find out for you tomorrow morning. I'm at home and the specs are at work.
Can you just get that to Debbie? when you
To
get a
Debbie?
chance?
Sure, of course. I have pictures I could send. I don't know if that would help at all, right now, but otherwise, yes, I'll get the specs to her first thing in the morning.
Okay, thank you.
Not 100% sure, but I'm looking at old records, I believe 17 feet, 4 and 5/8 inches. By 5'10", which is 13.6
about whatever, yeah,
So you're 5'10".
we were measuring.
Like 110 wide?
We had Warren stand with Tom on the shoulder.
Standing
And,
at this.
Yeah.
And the Mercedes 5'4", right? So that would be there.
I mean, most of that sign.
I don't know if this is, I'm just looking at old records.
Yeah, that's what this will be like, but red. And the only thing that shines is the logo and Tesla.
Yeah, and see, that's the other thing, it's not like a.
Well, I'm sure we can come close to those sizes, being proportionate of their sign.
Okay.
I don't see this.
With snow plowing, you don't want it there anyway, where you had it.
Very true. That I don't think our chief would allow it where it was right next to the hydrant and.
Yeah, he did have concerns over that location.
Oh, yes, so. Just based upon the fire chief's recommendation alone, goes back to her. And then you had already had that conversation.
I pretty much do that when we.
You put up enough signs, you know.
Yeah.
All right, so we appreciate that. So you'll take that back, get back with them and bring it all that, come back and forth. So let's go back to the building sign now. So this one, we needed, what was it, 24 square feet of
23.5.
23.5. Which what the variance was on this one.
Like I said, most of that square footage is in between the others.
How tall is the fascia on that building?
Oh, the building itself?
Yeah.
They're doing a lot of construction there. I don't know if they're running anything to that or.
The letters.
I would say it's probably close to 10. I don't have the records for that.
So does anybody else have any questions about that one?
It's all pink and does not light up.
No, it does light up. Those are channel letters that light up. So the Tesla logo at nighttime, you'll see the letters on the front of the building. Will say that.
White letters.
Yeah, they're facelit.
Yeah. Any other question?
What is face?
The front of the sign is what? Are they all individually on their own? Circuit?
Yeah, they're not, they get tied in behind the sign,
Oh,
and then it goes into a power supply and then.
see that, right like that.
It's like that.
Get a pretty view of the status of that too. Does anybody in the audience have any questions on this?
We don't take any issue with the on-building branding. We're good with that.
Thank you for your input tonight, by the way.
Thank you.
No one's
All right.
talking to you.
There's, any other questions, or there's no other questions, we can close the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing
For this,
for the sign on the building. There, yes.
I second that motion.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, okay, so on this one. Whether benefits sought by the applicant can be achieved by a reasonable alternative to the variance. They could have smaller batteries.
Yeah.
But. Whether there's an undesirable change to be produced in the character of the neighborhood or detriment to nearby properties, I think it's in line with what the neighbors have. But it's okay. Whether the requested variance is substantial,
I don't think so.
not for that one.
She didn't have a problem with that.
Yeah, no, she just said there's some. Would the variance have an adverse impact on the physical or environmental condition of the neighborhood? Nope. Whether the alleged pitch bubble is self-created, yes. They did it for. All right, so with that, ZBF taking into wait, before we do this, does this one have to go through review too?
Yeah.
Okay, just, fine, okay. Just wanna make sure. All right, so the ZBA after taking into consideration the above 5 factors, finds that the benefit to the applicant does outweigh the detriment to the neighborhood. ZBA further finds that the variance for 23.5 square feet is the minimum variance for the front sign that should be granted in order to preserve and protect the character of the neighborhood and help city and welfare of the community. For agreement that there's no significant impact on the environment, therefore proposed that you act on secret on this one. No further review is needed. Based upon this, Warren, would you like to make a motion?
So we're going to look at this as a separate.
This is individual, and then the other one remains an open item for next.
I think I need to, I think we should also set forth the condition of how they're lit and so forth.
Okay, yeah.
Letters they are,
To do be from the, as you said.
right, and then they're individual letters, it's not a. You know, like what you sign, if that's important to you.
How far do these letters stick out?
The new standard for channel letters is usually 3 inches.
3 inches.
Yeah, they have retainers on them.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion, the zoning board grants the area variance to Tesla. Okay, Tesla, by way of Alex, or just to Tesla.
Whoever the applicant is. Yeah,
Well, yeah,
The
yeah.
property. The property
on.
owner.
That's that.
Excuse me.
Who's the property owner?
I don't have that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
Okay,
LLC.
okay.
and
Do they sign the application?
They signed the
Probably
paperwork that allowed them to submit on behalf of them.
Okay. So KDP LLC.
To KDP LLC. To construct. Front faced. 5-letter. Sign. TESLA. From the building. Located at 5427 North Prairie Street, Fayetteville. With the contractor being Allied Sign Company. Variance granted for the width of 23 feet.
No, it's a survey there.
Service area 23.
23.5 square feet.
23.5 square feet. I don't have a tax map on this.
Okay. You know, the bid tax man is no, gonna do that. in the publication, right?
Add in the vision, it's not well. I think I said that well. The sign should be front lit. I think that's it.
I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
There we go.
Thank you for your time, appreciate it.
Thank you for working with us.
3 feet tall, the letters.
Yes,
I'll
give you. Okay.
thank you for your time, appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Take care.
All right. All right, agenda item number 9, Danielle and Ryan Ewer of 8291 East Seneca Turnpike in Manlius. As a continuation of our public hearings, we don't have to open the public hearing, it's still open. For a variance of 13.6 or 13.76 feet of road frontage. Hello again. Oh. My name is Joe Mastriani. Hello, Joe. How are you? Hungry. That's good.
So, from the last meeting, we have obtained and provided, estimates for doing the work. And we came up with putting the sewer line underneath the road. The only thing we got was Sears Utilities. Everybody else has either stopped doing rock borings or they don't have the capacity anymore or anything else. So Sears Utilities gave us an estimate, just to do what's under the road, of about $73,800. We then have to go up the hill, which is also a rock, so it's going to be jackhammered. That price is $8,000. So overall, we're coming to just over $80,000. We'll pass that on to Jeff Till, County Health. And then he spoke with the chairman in the phone call regarding it. As far as, he stated they don't have a problem with a septic system going on the side of the road of the project. He said, but ultimately, obviously, it's a town decision. I wanted to just for the record, just reiterate that this is for the variance only. That's the only reason we're here. We're not looking to do the subdivision here. We're not looking for the site plan discussion and gone through. In the past, we were here just for the variance, and then we would move on past that. We had previously given the DOT's review, and they said there's no problem putting a driveway and site distance or anything else. They were fine with that. And so I'm open for any other questions or anything else. I did send the quote in earlier, but just to make sure we had it in here. I've got it on my phone. I emailed it to Tom and also to Debbie. She's got it also. Yeah, sure. So any questions or anything anybody wants to talk about?
So, based on just a update, what you said, yeah, I talked with Mr. Till, back in when he's. But I did forward along what he sent me, to the rest of the board. And this is, and actually this was, he forwarded me your, basically.
Yeah.
It's your. Just what you just said, but it says estimates are as follows. Now you would just said a second, I mean. You would basically said everything that's right here, so I don't really, I don't think I need to read this. Just making sure we're not missing anything. I haven't go over multiple ones, but just want to make sure that this.
No.
is a conversation.
And one of the, just a side note, one of the reasons the price is up there, it's not the main reason. We're on a state road. So we gotta get all of our maintenance protection traffic, flagging and the cones, everything and that, quite some amount of some protection.
Right. Also, just for the public record, there was a letter submitted, this morning, to the ZBA, in regards to the same. Now, this speaks mostly to the, I'm just gonna read it. From the Public record. I can read.
We can.
I can paraphrase.
I mean, it's. Pages.
Yeah, hold on. Well, this is all this. But I also want to keep this to remain a conversation of the, what we're discussing here, so. This does make reference obviously to the planning board. Most of this stuff is beyond the purview of us, but the entire board did read this, just so you're aware.
We understand that. We were just,
But I did want to thank you for sharing everything, because it does just provide, it actually helps summarize what the planning board is discussing. Did everybody get a chance to review this? Any questions about that? About the letter? Yeah, no. We left it open last time. I mean, if you want, we can go vote to open it again, but we had tabled.
Are considering it open. That's.
Yeah, because we had tabled it the last time and just so that it would remain open until we. At the, not the last meeting, but the meeting before that.
Yeah, if I could interject, at the end of it, you did say we just leave it open.
Yeah.
Until there's stuff is running, yeah.
Yeah, we've done that with others in the past and it's, that's fine. That way we, make sure we're on top of things. Okay, so. Any questions further?
We were done with the documents that were received. Anybody else? County?
No, aside from what's already been.
There was an email. Did you get that from, that is in the package, draft bills?
That's what I
Yeah.
made reference to.
That was.
That's that, which I was just, and really all this email was a email from Joe to Jeff. We got
And then
right.
Jeff, I'll come back to you.
Yeah, and then I sent it to the board, so I saw that. Everybody's gotten a copy. And really all it is, like I said, it's just, it explains the course of the value crisis. Okay, so we then move on to the D5 questions.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, it is a public hearing, so if anyone. else
Oh,
wants to
yeah,
speak,
yeah.
yeah.
I'll close it again. Okay,
If there's anyone online.
is there any, one second, is there, oh, I'm sorry, so. Please identify yourself and, do you want to come forward? That way they can hear you online. These cameras will pick you up in the back. So, appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm Dr. John Anderson. We own Compassionate Care Veterinary Hospital just next door. On 173. When we built our hospital, 8275.
We're about
East Seneca Drive.
3 doors up.
We're neighbors.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you're right.
So when we built 16 years ago, we were told we did not have an option of going on any kind of septic system, that we had to tap into the sewer. So I guess my question as a business owner is why did we pay $50,000 16 years ago? And now that's not a consideration for future businesses down the line. You're talking about putting in a dog kennel, which has a lot more waste and a lot more things right now.
All right, let him finish speaking.
So just capacity wise, there's potentially a lot more than what we would generate as a business for us, but we did not have the option of even considering any kind of septic system, raised bed, anything. We were told we had to have, we tapped into sewer. So that's of course what we did. We tapped into sewer. We just accepted it as a cost of doing business. We wanted to establish there, so we went through it and did our plans. So my question is, why would it be different for a different business to tap into the sewer versus doing a septic system?
And you had to go under.
We had to go under, we had to bore under the ground.
What about the water?
We have city water, yeah, we have aqua waters.
But that's connected also.
Correct. So I mean, obviously, it's, you know, your decisions and different things are there. I'm just curious what the difference was, you know, 15 years later, why that option exists now and didn't before. So, well, I appreciate it.
May I speak?
Thank you. But please keep it within the, not the planning board, because I'm sorry, I don't wanna.
And that's,
I'm gonna deal directly with the law. And the doctor has just made a point, and I know your counsel will review it with you. But you are entitled, you are required to honor precedent. And there are court cases that say that you can't treat one person one way, another way under a similar circumstance. And in my experience, and I've been at this a long time, when a court is called upon to review the language of the law, the court will go to Mr. Webster, and the international Mr. Webster definition of feasible is not affordability. It is merely possible to do or achieve. And I'm telling you, a judge will look at that and say, is it possible? And will not consider the economics of the situation, as I think you people are mulling over. And that's for good reason, because what's affordable to me or you or somebody else is different. That's very subjective. It's not an objective standard. This standard of the law is feasible. Is it possible? It's not an issue of affordability. I've known Jeff Till for a number of years, worked with him from other municipalities, and I had a long talk with Jeff because I had in hand the document that he sent to you. And I said, Jeff, what are you doing here? Did you really take into account the issue of affordability? Well, he said, Dirk, you know, it's a lot of money. I said, yeah, but Jeff, is that really what your job is to decide who can afford what? No, he said, Dirk, my position is that it's up to the town. But I said, you have that in your memo. He said, well, it is in my memo, but I'm telling you, Dirk, it's my practice since I've been in charge of this department, that when there is a town sewer system available, it's up to the town to make the decision, and it's not my decision to make. So I really think you're going down a bad path if you decide that this is outrageously expensive, it's not affordable, and you're going to give these people a pass. And I think that is an absolute bad decision, and I think the judge will readily turn you over for it. The other question I have, sir, is, and I brought this to your attention the last time, Section 277 of the town law, subdivision 6 says, and reviewing an application for a variance on a subdivision, the zoning board shall request the planning board to provide a written recommendation concerning the proposed variance. To my knowledge, you have not done that. I've not heard you mention that you have any statement of opinion by the planning board. That's an absolute requirement before you make a decision, and I don't think you have anything from them, do you?
We'll discuss that.
Thank you. Those are my legal points. Thank you.
My neighbor, I own the property. Again, we were just here for a variance of 14 feet. And
whatever reason, it keeps coming in front as to what we want to do. He gets up and says what he wants to say, and people say what we're gonna do there. All we're looking for is 13.3 some odd feet for a variance to subdivide our property. And that's what we are asking from you guys to look at for us. Thank you, Pierce.
I couldn't hear what you said, this machine makes too much, okay.
He was just saying that all he's requesting is a 13.76 foot variance, that's what he came into. You know, and again, yes, you're looking for a variance on a property that has a permitted use that includes the dog and daycare. But again, as I've stated before, our purview here as the ZBA is to not look at the end use that you were attempting to do. Whether it's known, if you came to us without us having an idea of what you were looking to do with it, you hadn't been in the planning board and you knew you had to get a variance beforehand. We would still have this conversation because there are feasible alternatives to, right? We always have to look at that factor and we have to look at what the ultimate use could be. As I stated in the past, you know, the prior 2 meetings ago, you know, you could sell the property off and that subdivision could be there. And there's a number of different variances that fall within the R5 zone that could be used. So we have to take all that into consideration. When we look at it. So you want, I'm gonna start going through what I've got here. Is
There are no participants online and there are no more questions that I've seen.
no, the last question was from the Zoom on, so. Okay. So we'll do this with, it's still open. So we're gonna second. Okay. So we're gonna go over, okay, and then we'll do this one. All right, and we make a motion to close the public hearing.
I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So now we're gonna go through the 5 questions. And then I've got one to go through some separate board discussions. So whether benefits sought by the applicant can be achieved by a feasible alternative to the variance.
Yes.
And what is your reason for that?
Variance is not contingent.
Well, the alternative.
You mean, you're saying, is there a feasible alternative to the variance is the question?
Answer that is yes, because the sewer is the alternate option that would then not require the use of variance.
Yeah, because, what our legal precedent. Talks about, 150 foot of road frontage.
Yeah, so. Will you read this?
Well, what do you think? So, do you think it's feasible for them to do something else?
Yes.
How does the affordability factor? So,
I'm not gonna think of the affordability.
It's not under consideration. Everything.
so you don't think affordability is feasibility?
I think third being a good point.
I guess another question that was brought up was the precedent of other people who didn't have that problem. What is it? Are you persuaded by that?
Yeah, I think that's important.
Yes.
I think for an R5 commercial application, it's. You know, and that's the thing is when you're looking at a property that's right nearby, that the planning board who has, you know, significant experience in this, made the determination. And it was a recommendation from the Onondaga County planning board as well, that they recommended the sewer as a feasible alternative to the variance.
I would,
What subsequently there was a Jack Till letter. how does that weigh into the determination?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think in that letter it said that his opinion had nothing to do with cost.
Well, the decision was. Read that, read this letter if you want, read it out.
It was actually a letter from Joe.
No, I think it was a.
There's a letter. There's a letter from Chuck. There was a letter. Here. It's in here somewhere, I just did not get one copy. No, it's in this packet, I just was on the version for. So this says the office has received estimates provided by Joe Mastriani for a septic system installation. First is a public sewer connection for a project located at 8291 East Seneca Turnpike. He reported that due to bedrock conditions, the cost of a public connection will be approximately 4 times that of the septic system installed. We note that his estimation on the septic install is based on his experience in this preliminary testing. Design has not been submitted to or approved by this office for the final decision to require connection to the public system lies for the town of Manlius. Correspondence may serve as our having no objection to a private sewage disposal system to be used on this property in lieu of a public connection. Again, this is based solely on the cost estimates provided. That we were.
That's based on cost.
How does the use of the property, potentially commercial use into this decision?
I think, as I said a little while ago, is if they were to, and again, I've got to look at it this way, if they were to sell the property for what an R5 building could do. Yes, you could put a single family home on it, but if it was a commercial building, you gotta think about the application of what it could be. And
It was changed through the town board of RA.
all right, I'm sorry, I meant to say, I meant to say,
Okay,
I didn't eat before this, so I apologize. All right, so.
so do you want to answer that question, whether benefits are by can be achieved by a feasible alternative to the variance?
Yeah, I'm not gonna read over here. So. For purposes of consideration of this criterion, section 155-12A.1 of the town of Manlius zoning code relevantly states. A minimum of 150 feet of frontage and a minimum of 40,000 square feet of area are required where public sanitary sewers are provided. A minimum of 200 feet of frontage and a minimum of 100,000 square feet of area are required where a septic system is proposed. Variance can be completely avoided for this property if it is served by public sanitary sewer and not private septic holding tank. The applicant seeks a variance because they desire the property to be served by private sewage disposal system, and that requires 200 foot of road frontage per the town code. But the applicant does in fact have sufficient road frontage of a minimum of 150 feet for its newly created subdivided lot. The question presented by this variance criterion is whether there is a feasible alternative to a variance. Feasibility does not necessarily mean affordability, as affordability is very subjective, dependent upon the financial situation of the party. Particularly when a newly subdivided parcel can be ready for commercial development, the affordability issue becomes even more subjective. However, it is known from evidence presented by the applicant for its quotes that installing the infrastructure necessary for public sewer access is feasible, notwithstanding costs. In other words, it can be done. This property, when subdivided, can be ready for any number of commercial uses which are allowed by the code in the RA zone. This board does not look at any one use or the use proposed by the applicant currently, rather in general, where the potentially commercial lot can be considered by public sewer and avoid the variance. That is a significantly weighted factor by this board. It bears noting that similarly situated commercial enterprise located at 8275 East Seneca Turnpike was required to hook up the public sewer to serve its commercial use as a veterinary practice. This provides further proof of the feasibility of same, and accordingly, this board is not persuaded that the financial numbers presented render the hookup to public sewer unfeasible. The county health department by email dated June 27, 2023, was apparently somewhat persuaded by the financial differential presented by the applicant, noting that they would have no objection to a private sewage disposal system. This is a sharp departure from the county referral of April 26, 2023, wherein the county planning board stated as a modification, it appears the public sewerage is available and accessible to this parcel. As such, the Onondaga County Sanitary Code requires connection to the public utility versus installation of a septic system. Plans must be modified to reflect the connection to the public sanitary sewer system. And a sewage disposal plan must be approved by the Onondaga County Health Department prior to or as a condition of municipal plan approval. And in any event, as stated by Jeffrey Hill, the County Health Department in June 27th email, the final decision to require connection to the public system lies with the town of Manlius. Because the need for the variance can be eliminated, this board adopts the requirement of connection to the public sanitary sewer system as a feasible alternative to the variance. All right. Question number 2. So whether a undesirable change would be producing the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties. I would say yes. You take into consideration the use of the property. There's a significant amount of residential properties around it. So what it's saying. It's saying it's 42 feet, not changing the environment area, it's all it's saying. So the public hearing was closed.
There was some discussion at meetings about and
Correct.
the organization. In the frontage and that's some risk of right?
Correct. Now, we did discuss that the third cut was something that could be done because of the way the road is straight, and there's not a significant curve or variation in height in the lot size is narrow. Right. But that would run directly parallel to neighboring property. So the particular area has significant residential component, and the newly subdivided lot will be surrounded by residential uses. And an unnecessarily reduced road frontage as requested here creates an undesirable change in their road. And that the reduced road frontage provides for less opportunity to locate the curb cut at a reasonable distance from the residential neighbors to the west. This could potentially trigger an undesirable change in neighborhoods and detriment for adjacent and nearby residential properties. So. Question number 3 is whether the requested variance is substantial.
Again, it's a weighting of factors. If you don't think it's substantial, it becomes a weighting of factors, or if it is substantial. It is 13.76. As far as frontage goes, yes, that's
For me, I think it's more that there is a feasible alternative to the variance. Well, I don't know if I would say 14 feet is substantial. I mean, in light of some of the variances that we've seen, it's substantial. It's substantial the fact of how it is used. Right. Yes. That I agree. So 14-foot variance requested, 13.76 foot variance requested is substantial considering the location of the adjacent parcels. And the frontage in comparison to the proposed lot configuration, which becomes very narrow just shortly beyond substandard road frontage. Question number 4. Would the variance have an adverse impact on the physical or environmental conditions of the lake?
There's a question, I don't know the answer that this board has to, is it less desirable to have a, from an environmental standpoint, to have private sewer versus public sewer? That's a, a lot of people have private. The person down in. But it's just small. So again, the answer could be no, or it could be yes.
Yes, it's. I don't think it's clear.
So
That might have been learned today. From the neighbors.
Yeah.
I think that's significant.
I mean, depending on your road usage, right? So the private sewers or septic system, if there's complications of it due to excess use, right? This end, that could lead to problems for somebody else.
So it's not really.
But again,
It's allowed, I mean, private, yes,
Yeah.
it's allowed, so maybe the answer is no.
Drive through there, there's plenty of other houses right there.
So the answer is no.
Okay.
It's not, it's
So we're
not.
doing. And then whether the electric for the self-created that owns the best. Yes, straightforward, yes.
I think I'm more concerned with feasibility.
I agree.
We're talking, about the self-created.
Yeah. Yes. So the difficulty is self-created in that the applicant seeks to subdivide a parcel off their current residential use parcel, pursue a separate commercial use on a newly created lot. The applicant pursued a zone change on the entire parcel, which could potentially allow certain commercial uses provided all zoning criteria are met. So the applicant was aware that a zone change alone would not be sufficient to potentially develop commercial use. Rather, site plan approval and or special permit approval would be necessary in order to pursue an approved commercial use, and bulk regulations would also have to be met, such as setbacks, lot size, etc.
Has anything changed with the county since? Since that has, was required to connect.
Oh, you're talking about requirement ones?
Yeah.
So since, the vendors built theirs, has there been any changes?
I don't have that information. I wouldn't have regulations for that.
You know?
Not to sound arrogant, it's not meant this way, okay? But when the other project was done, whoever their engineer was, thinking out to go through and say, what can we do to minimize the cost? I knew enough to let's talk to the county, let's see what we can do. Nothing's changed. It's the same rules. But I went and approached them and said, what about this? What can we do? And I was told, with the cost, we have done this before. We have, given variances before, not you guys. But the health department said we have allowed that to go when the cost is significantly more than the system. So basically, like I said, I'm not trying to sound arrogant, but I knew enough to go looking for that, to see what else we could do to save my client money. The other project, the engineer possibly did. So they ended up just going and doing whatever standard thing was. They didn't look to do anything to save money. That's the only difference between the two. There's nothing changed with the regulations of the health department or anything else. Things like that.
Thank you for sharing.
Okay, right.
Is open again for discussion? No, sorry. More trying to identify if the code, the health department code had changed since that. It was 15 years ago, correct? Any other discussion on 5 questions?
No.
So ZBA, after taking into consideration the
It's
above,
a motion,
what was it?
it's a motion.
To make the motion?
Deny. Deny, is that what you do, deny the variance?
Right.
Okay.
Well, I would make the motion. Even though-
Well, you can get that.
Sure. Okay, so, we'll make the motion that the, ZBA, after taking into consideration of about 5 factors and weighing each factor, that the benefit to the applicant does not outweigh the detriment to the neighborhood or community, and therefore the variance request is denied. Do I have a second? I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Perfect. Do we have any other business? We have, a motion. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Here's my line.